Hello, welcome to Laura's Painted Minis. I am Laura, and today we are working on the Warthog Warrior. So I came to the conclusion that I would do just the little ornate sculpted stuff as that kind of gold color. It looks a lot more like an orange on the palette than it does here once painted on. So you can see that. Very orangey. And then this is that same color. It's forged glow, or let's see, forge glow. I don't remember how I got it, because it was either like a freebie thrown in, left over from like maybe ReaperCon colors or something, or it was part of a set that they don't sell anymore. Because I'm pretty sure it's not in the High Sea Horrors. And then this that I'm stirring right now is black and steel. Oh, and it's mixed with pearl white, and this also has pearl white mixed in. It's to kind of help create some of the same idea of that is behind NMM, non-metallic metals, where you can where you're controlling where the shine is. You don't have anywhere near as much control of where it's going to be shiny when it comes to metallics, but there is some things you can do. And then this is just pearl white. So it's kind of like the pure white of metallics in a way. Get brush out. So we'll just go ahead and kind of do a little bit of a proof of concept. So I've already got the black and steel painted on. You can see it's shiny where I've painted it. There's some areas I didn't paint it on, and those are not shiny, so those will be, so that's one way that you still have some control, is you can just not paint it. Not paint with metallic paint in the areas that you want to be completely shadowed. And then you can use not pure white, pearl white to kind of create some higher highlights, areas that are brighter than others. So even when the light's no longer directly on, see right there, there's still a lighter color to it. So you still get kind of that similar effect. Okay. That was probably a little bit too much, but you can always come back with the black and steel. That's what this is. I probably should have had some of that out. And then pearl white. Some little dots here and there. So the thing is just like with NMM, it is still going to take some work. I'm going a little bit back and forth. The easiest thing to do is just not care about controlling where the shine is. That's really the easiest thing to do, is don't care about it. But if you're wanting to take really great pictures, it's gonna become something that you kind of care about, because when it comes to metallic things, you kind of have to control some degree in some way where the shine is so that it actually looks metallic. Because sometimes there just ends up not being enough contrast, and it just looks like a really bright silver all over, for instance. So that was just a real quick blocking example, just to kind of show the proof of concept, show kind of what I'm talking about. I'm gonna just focus now on getting all of the ornate stuffs painted with this Forge Glow. If we'll have time, I'll go back to doing the highlights. Got working a little bit more on my entry for Reaper's current 90-day challenge or contest. I should call it a contest, so it's not to be confused with their Reaper Challenge League. And that is what they call it. It's a 90-day contest. Formerly known as the Quarterly Challenge. If you're more familiar with that. So I'm excited about the mini. It's Isabel and Rufus. There, you can go on to Reaper and find it real easily. So it's technically 2 miniatures, but just 1 SKU. I'm curious to see if like some people will leave the dog out, even though I mean is really literally the whole name is Isabel and Rufus. So I'm curious to see what other people do, how other people paint it. I've also been trying to organize and get stuff clipped off of the sprues from my box of Dungeons and Lasers caves. If I remember tomorrow, I will try and share on the DNL fan page the little, it's kind of more of a mental hack that I kind of realized about myself, at least. And that's leaving them on the sprues, because I did that with the encounters box. A lot of that just did not get painted, or has not been painted. Even the stuff that I really do want to use or was excited about, I just haven't painted. Now, some of that is because at the time I wasn't having as much time to paint. I don't think I was, I don't know if I was even streaming yet when I first got that. So there's that. But even now, when I've had more time to stream, I just look at that box and all I can think of is, oh, I still have to clip it off before I can even like assemble it and then paint it. And I don't mind assembling things as much, but I don't like having to clip them off the sprues. I don't know why that is what the obstacle is for me. Because sometimes assembling can take way more time than it does to just get the things clipped off of the sprue in the first place. I think some of it might just be that it's the only company that I buy minis from that does the whole sprue thing. I know they aren't the only one. I know like Games Workshop does that. And it makes sense why they ship it that way. It just means it's not something I'm regularly doing already or had been regularly doing. And so it's kind of a barrier to actually getting paint on those minis. So yeah, that's why, so this time around I'm working my way through the boxes of the caves, all the different stuff that I got, and getting them off of the sprues. Getting things kind of, so I have like the actual caves set was pretty easy because I just organized it out into like floor tiles and then different bags for the walls and a different bag for all of the connectors. For some of the other ones if it's clear that it's like an actual miniature versus something that can be a standalone or added in to somewhere, I'll have just a separate baggie and try and make sure to label it the same as what it's called on the sprue. Or like usually the sprues are labeled like, for instance, traps set 1 or dwarf team. that one in particular. Their dwarf team was a whole sprue, and so I had separate baggies labeled dwarf team and then A, B, and whatever, whatever loader it was, and separated those out. But traps and props, I'm trying to think. Actually, no, I did do traps in a whole separate bag because there's a lot of them, so it wasn't gonna make sense to have them in the same bag as all the props. If you're really like the type A person, just get a bunch of snack size baggies, like those is like Ziplocs or whatever brand it is you use, storage bags, and do what I did with like the dwarf teams like I mentioned, putting what is on the sprue label itself, because that's usually what they'll that's usually will be in their PDF, their downloads of instructions. If something is meant to be built, put together. And then, the letter, they usually use letters. Whatever the label is, it's usually a letter, like A, B, C. I'm not that anal. Like, I'm pretty good visually wise. And I like puzzles, so to me, it's not the end of the world if I either somehow end up with extra parts or things end up in a different spot than what they had designed it for. I'm not concerned about that. Otherwise, I would just like separate everything, like I did with the dwarves. And I did that for the Demon Prince too, because that's a big one. And there's a lot of small-ish pieces. That I don't fully understand of, because there were like a lot of super teeny tiny pieces that were on its own sprue. Not even the Demon Prince, just like various places. Not sure I understand like why they had to be separated. It's just because they're so tiny. So I don't know. So far, I don't think I've lost any pieces, but some have definitely come close. So that's a you know, like a heads up if you haven't gotten yours or haven't clipped things off yet. It's kind of a little heads up that there are some to keep an eye out. One, to make sure that you haven't missed anything off of a sprue, so you don't accidentally throw parts away. But also just to be careful while you're cutting it off that things don't go flying into the nooks and crannies of your room. That got a little bit on the heavy side. Sort of an awkward angle to paint at. It's hard to tell if it's actually a little design here or not. It looks like a design. I think it'd be kind of tied in with the rest of the armor anyway, even if it's not meant to be. Okay. Yeah. I think I have gotten all of this stuff. I'm tempted to do this. It's got like a Warthog emblem of sorts on its belt. Tempting to maybe do some of the edging on it as something in the gold. But it's also really far in shadow. So I don't know. But yeah, I got the demon prints all cut off yesterday. All of the core set of the caves were the first thing that I did. Because that is something I know I will could use later this year, depending if I can get it painted up. And then just kind of been pulling out boxes kind of at random, just basically how I had put them back in when I looked through everything. So let's see. Okay. Let's add in some highlights on these. It is rounded, so just Just kind of plop them down in some places and see if they look right. If they don't look right, I can always come over them with paint again. I feel like right here would be the kind of like shiny spot zone, assuming we have light coming from above. It's usually what I do. I admire the people who do like awesome directed light or whatever that's called. If you can do it well, it looks awesome. I tried doing it once and I kind of got annoyed with it. I'm just like, And I feel like the only reason I tried it was because a lot of other people were doing it, not because I actually wanted to do that or see reasons to do it. I don't know. I feel like you gotta have a really strong proof of why I'm saying proof of concept so much today. A really strong idea in mind of what you're going for, and it's not something I usually have. It's something I want to try and work on because that's something that's made it hard for when I'm like, oh, hey, this has opportunity. You know, if I have a mini that's like, ooh, this would be great for some freehand, there's space on here and it's not going to look too busy. And then I'm just like, so what should I do? So yeah. From what I can tell, or what I've gotten some advice on in that regards, is that, you know, spend some time, you know, what's thinking of the story behind the mini you're painting, or look elsewhere all over the mini. See if there are things on the mini itself and the design. For instance, if this wasn't so already busy and ornate, and this cloak was a bit flatter and not so folded up, there'd be opportunity to do freehand. And, well, one, he's a warthog, and two, he's got a warthog emblem on him. So that would, you know, you can look up some warthog emblem ideas, or even if you're a really good sketch artist, you can take a look at what's sculpted here and do like a rough sketch. So yeah, I'm trying to get better at having better ideas or concepts behind the minis. So yeah, there we go. You can kind of see how you can still see evidence of a shine up here. It does make it easy when you're doing metallics to be able to tell where the highest shine is, because you can just leave it like this. You can either take a picture, or I have the help of, I can see the video on screen, so I can look at my screen live, and I can tell like right along here, and it does kind of do a little bit of a curve. Since it is a curved surface, it will curve. Go ahead and go over here and do that. You can see that spot here kind of going along that line on this side. You could just do exactly what you did on this side, but I mean, he is technically in slightly different positions, his arms, and they do have it sculpted that it has, you know, then affected how the armor sits. I mean, they certainly could have not done that, but I think it makes it that much better of a mini that they did actually tweak how the armor's sitting a little bit. It is fun to kind of do some different minis than what I would normally do. Because like this is not a mini I would normally do. I don't know what I would do with a Warthog warrior in any of my campaigns or one shots. I actually recently backed another Kickstarter, but it's for STLs. Because I have a friend now who has his own printer. And is willing to print stuff for friends. he printed up some. I think I showed on a previous stream some tokens. He had printed up for me to act as inspiration tokens for my game that I started, campaign that I started. So I need to get to working on that. I worked a little bit on it last week, but it's like the entire scenario that I worked on is like something that could also just not happen at all. It's pretty much fully dependent on if they roll well. I mean, it's not much of an encounter. So it's not like I'm out too much time, prep time. It'll be really fun if they do roll well and they encounter and they go through that. Need to think through prices and inventory of the different shops. So that is something I'm pretty sure they're gonna want to do, because none of them are healers or spellcasters of any sort. And I think they learned how scary that can be. So they were level 1s characters going up against a cultist fanatic instead of letting him flee. I was pulling punches though. I did not use it. They have like, they can cast spiritual weapon. So they would have that on top of their own attacks. So I did not use that until it seemed like I absolutely needed to for him to escape / for them to stop chasing him. Not that he was necessarily like an important important character. But yeah. I also didn't want them to like just end up fully dying on their at level 1. I think I got sidetracked with STLs. But I've so yeah, I've backed some STLs on Kickstarter. It's through for I think it's Thornforge is the creator. Looks like a pretty sweet set of like graveyard set. If you wanted like a nice big, I haven't double checked actually like what it looks like. I mean the how big the sizing will look like. They do have it listed as far as like the max length and width you could do, I think. With one set. I mean, you've got STL, so you could just print multiples of certain things because they do have like pathways, it looks like, and of course walls. Then they've got like graveyard scatter props like graves and mausoleums, and there's like a really big bell tower. It looks pretty cool. I could see using it for more than just that, like the sidewalks. It looks like it's just cobblestone kind of style. I mean, you could use that in city scenes too, or like villages that are just a bit more posh or something. Hey there, Painty Paint. I'm trying to think. Just trying to finish up putting in some little highlights. A lot of the other stuff down here is in shadow, so I don't think I will do any pearl white highlights on them, but do that middle color that I had mixed up. Let's see. I think there's not a ton of time, so it's not really worth pouring out a whole thing of mixing up some black and steel on the palette, but I can at least get started blocking in kind of where some of those highlights will be. I've already started over here a bit on the black armor, part of the armor. So I think all the golden ornate stuff is pretty well highlighted. And again, this is a mix of black and steel and pearl white, not to be mistaken for pure white. They're both metallics. This is all metallics, in case you were just now joining us. yeah, that the graveyard set is something I could definitely use as well later this year if I run the Dracula one shot. Granted, that would be a lot to try and get painted up, because the Dracula one shot also kind of had in mind using a lot of the minis from the what's called Shadows of Sullen Hall box from Reaper. So I might hold off on running that counter because I really, really like the minis that were in it. And that's what I envisioned. Those were the minis I envisioned using, even though we do already have some undead stuff. I'll be curious to see how various people paint the Daemon Prince from the DNL caves. I've got, like, I know I cut off the sprues, but I don't, it's so big. I'm not entirely sure what to use it for. Now, I am a big Lord of the Rings fan, so that's the main thing that is coming to mind and playing in the back of my head is "You shall not pass" scene. But it's also really big. It would take a lot of time to paint. So not something I'm going to be able to use this year. I can almost guarantee that. And it wasn't really one of the things that was necessarily like as excited about for. I mean, it's very cool looking and would work great for the Balor, the I forget if that's what Tolkien calls them, if they're Balors in Tolkien universe. It's been so long now since I've read any of the books. Imagine it, a lot of people will paint them like a stereotypical demon prince. It's always interesting to see. There's usually some here and there that will just do like weird, out there kind of color schemes, paint jobs on. So who knows? And some people who have already painted up their caves. I'm sitting here just trying to get everything cut off and organized. I will finish highlighting this arm piece, and that will probably be it for string. I will be painting the dragon some more on Thursday. I got started on the wing flaps membranes. I'm not sure what they're technically called. I'll show you here in just a second. But yeah, that will be what I'll be working on Thursday. Same time, 1 p.m., 1:15 p.m. Central Time. All right, I think that's probably, well, yeah, kind of down here a little bit, just as for reflected light, more so. Getting a good start there on the on highlighting the armor. It'll probably be hard to see this since this is so much bigger, but you can see kind of what I got started on. So that'll be like the shadow color, I think. Imagine. Got a bit more done on this side. probably what I'll be working on. Well, let's see. I guess last week I noticed having a hard time. So I might not work on the dragon. I'll think about that. It was just a bit too big to make it so that you could see it very well, see what I was painting. So stay tuned. It might be that maybe I'm base coating some floor tiles or something. We'll see. I guess that's something I need to figure out. So I kind of forgot about that already. So yeah, stay tuned. And we'll come back and work on this guy some more next week, next Monday. So hope you have a good beginning to your week. Hope it's not too Monday of a Monday. And I'll see you Thursday. Bye.